And see, hope says that even in the midst of the darkness, there is light at the end of the tunnel, that things are going to get better, that keep trying, never give up.
So let's welcome Dr. Rosalind Tompkins. She has a lot to tell us about. So
So happy to be here with you, Beatrice.
it's really a pleasure for me and really an honor to be with you here. So, Dr. Rosalind, tell me, when you hear the expression allow yourself, what comes to mind?
For me, allow yourself is to receive, to be open, and me personally to allow God's presence to work in my life.
Wow. And how does that, what was your intention when you open yourself to receive and to allow God and your faith into your life?
Well, it came from a very dark place and a dark time in my life, decades ago, when I was addicted to drugs and alcohol. And I had gone through a whole lot of different crises and tragedies along the way. And so each one opened me up to allow something greater than myself in to help me. And finally, it culminated in me surrendering and saying, okay, Lord, I surrender to you and your will and your purpose and your way. And that was over almost 40 years now. So about 39 years ago.
Wow. And what was the trigger? Because I hear
Mm-hmm.
a lot of stories, even
Mm-hmm.
mine, that we go to places that we don't want to go. It's like we've driven to very dark places and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
trouble, and it's
Yes.
like we cannot see the light. And
Yes.
it's when it's okay, I give up, I surrender. Tell
Mm-hmm.
me, tell me what you want from me. How
Yes.
do I come out of here? Can you, anyone, can you hear me to
Hear
take me
me.
out of here? Yeah.
Yes, yes. Well, it was a progression. It was definitely a progression. And I believe the last thing, the last catalyst for my transformation was whenever I got pregnant with my daughter, Jannar. And I'd already gone through so much, and I'd already had one stillborn because of my addiction. And when she came along, it's like, okay, all of a sudden, I had someone else that I was responsible for, and I was ready. I was ready to change, to be a mother, and I embraced the hope that was before me and the help that was there. And I started going to church and just really pressing into God so that I could be the mother and also the social worker, because at that time I was working as a single parent and I was working in the field, helping women to get off drugs and alcohol. So it was during that time that everything just changed. It was my turning point, and purpose came. Purpose.
Purpose.
Yes.
That's really interesting because I say in Spanish, uno se sana sanando. You heal when you help others heal, and you're saying that you were working,
Yes.
helping other women heal out of addiction. And it's,
Hmm.
did you go through that before, or you were going through that together with them? Because sometimes it's the reflection that you can see in others, the
Hmm.
pain. You cannot, it's like you're numb. You cannot feel your pain unless you
Hmm.
see the pain in others. Is that
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
happened?
Well, no, actually, when I started working in the field and helping other women, I had 1 year clean. Okay. And I was working for a nonprofit organization. I was working for different treatment programs. And then when I started Mothers in Crisis, I was 4 years clean. So,
Okay.
so yes, I had gone through that process and I was no longer using, but as I was helping the women, it helped me to stay clean because not only was my daughter a responsibility, now I had these women and it was like, okay, I don't want to be a hypocrite, and I want to see them make it. So, it helped me to be that example and to really passionately pursue a life that was free from all of the things that I had been involved in.
Oh, that's beautiful because when you allow yourself to be clean and you allow yourself to be a
Hmm.
role model, because that's what you wanted to be
Hmm.
with your daughter, you wanted to be with the other women, a role model,
Yes.
then you already crossed the bridge. That's how
Hmm.
I call it. You're on the other side of the bridge, so you can say, "Hey, come!
Yeah. Yes.
I did
Yes.
it. You can do
You
it
can
too.
do
Look,
it.
yeah, I
Yes.
you can do it. I did it. Come on!" So you really um, become um, a, uh, somebody to admire and somebody to follow because you were there. So it's not a
Hmm.
hypocrite. It's really powerful when
Hmm.
your role model, you know that your mother went through the same path. So
Hmm.
it's like you were really understanding what they were going through and not judging because it can happen
Yes.
to anyone, right?
Right. And I always remembered where I came from. And I knew that but for the grace of God, I would be right there where they were. So that kept me on the path of humility, as well as I said before, just a passion to see them recover. And over the years, because that was back in 1991, and for about 18 years, it was during a major crisis in the United States, crack cocaine epidemic, and so it was so much that was going on. But we impacted tens of thousands of people, of families in this region as a result of the work of Mothers in Crisis and the various programs and the things that we were able to do. But it all was started, and it continued to rest on my testimony of hope. Like you just said, I can do it. As long as there's breath in your body, there is hope. You can do it. And God is able. And let me show you how. And as a result, it really made a big difference in the lives of so many.
So it's really nice to hear a testimony like that when you put together hope and faith
Hmm.
in a way that guilt is not there because judging is not so hard. It's like,
Hmm.
there is this way and there's that way. We want you with the light, not with the darkness.
Yes,
And,
yes.
and, and really, when you, that's my opinion. Correct
Hmm.
me if I'm wrong. When I put together hope and faith,
Hmm.
it's like there has to be that's the light that it brings me the light with not judgment because my faith
Hmm.
says okay, this is my light, but it doesn't judge the darkness because there is no light without darkness. You cannot see
Yes.
it. You cannot see the light if you have no darkness. It will be just for granted.
Right,
Yeah, it will
right.
be for granted.
Yes, yes. You're absolutely right. And then there's one other ingredient that is needed and the greatest of all, and that's love. So it's on that foundation of faith, hope, and love that it rested, and I was able to share that because it was coming from a real place, a place that God had just given me such a heart to want to see those children, especially that many of them were being their mother was using while they were pregnant, And just having that burden of saying, no, 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 we can change this. You can do better. I love you because God loves you, and that love lives inside of me. And then from there, the foundation of faith, and then hope, which is my brand of hope. That and see, hope says that even in the midst of the darkness, there is light at the end of the tunnel. That things are going to get better. That keep trying, never give up. So that goes together. So you're absolutely right.
You know that it brings to me in my life when I was in the dark places, not in
Hmm.
drugs, but
Hmm.
a lot of things
Yeah.
happening. A lot of things
Yes.
happening that I lost the business.
Mm,
I had divorced. My mom passed away. My father passed away.
mm,
I was in middle of a trial, and
mhm,
um, it's like uh, I used to tell me that once I turn on my light, mine
mhm,
inside of me, there is no
mhm,
darkest darker. There is no darkest in there is no dark place in the tunnel,
mhm.
because
Uh-huh.
one light and then another light and the next one,
Mm,
the next friend and lights another one, and if we are together in this, each
yes.
one turns on our own light. There is no more darkness in the tunnel. And
Yes.
another um, sentence affirmation that really helped me through that, it was um, there is no more that's in Spanish. It's there
Mhm.
is no more darkness than before dawn. Okay,
Yes. It's
when dawn is
darkest
gone,
right before dawn. Yes.
it's
Yes.
the darkest is before dawn. But um so it's so so nice to see a testimony that it's when you surrender, that when
Hmm.
you're there, it's like a faith journey. It's like, okay, it's a
Hmm.
wake up call. So, and
Yes.
faith journeys look so different, right, for
Yes.
everyone.
For everyone.
So
Yes.
who did you have in mind when writing your book God's Way? And
Yes.
and why do you believe this book can meet people wherever they are in their walk with God? If they believe in God, they don't believe in God. If they are,
Hmm.
because God, it doesn't mean church. God,
Yes.
it doesn't mean that you have to go to church every morning. So
Right.
so where do you meet them?
Well, God's way is for those who are on their journey, wherever that journey may be, whether it's the beginning of the journey where you're searching and you're seeking for something more to life. It may be during times of trials or transition, where you're just tired of just the regular routine of religion, and just you know that there's more. So God's way, it's like a roadmap for those who are starting their journey, those who have been on the journey for a while, and then they want to spark, and they want to go deeper. It's for those who just are on this path called life. And what I've found since we've published it is that it really resonates with women of faith from all cultures. They have really been giving testimonies and sharing about how it's caused them to think and to want more, and they've been experiencing a little bit more because there's so much in God's way that I was able to share after this 40 years of being with the Lord. Because even during my drug addiction, I was in a backslidden condition. I grew up in a home of faith, and I turned, and but I had already, accepted the Lord. So a part of that journey was during that time when I was backslidden, and then when I came back to the Lord. So it's been about 40 years. And so I just kind of write about it, and I share what helped me and what has kept me. Because so many people, they get clean, and and staying clean is the thing. How do I maintain a life of recovery and I continue to stay on that path? So that's who I wrote the book for, because I believe God gets a bad rap. We talk about God whenever there's natural disasters and things of that nature. We say, oh, it's an act of God. And, we talk about how why God is not doing this if there is a God. And just from my personal experience with him, it's like, let me introduce you to my big friend. Okay. And I believe that he can be a friend for each and every one that will allow him to.
Exactly. If you allow it, and once you start walking on that path and working
Yes.
with that path,
Yes.
you can see it in the small things. In every single small things, you can see
Yes.
things that you took for granted before. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not only that you regular um, a life gets lighter and you can
Mm-hmm.
walk without that heaviness in
Mm-hmm.
your shoulders. It's, in my experience, it's like um, you're floating less. It's not that heavy because you start
Mm-hmm.
to. It happened to me. Let's see if it happens to all the testimonies, because I think it's a common path. Even that uh, I'm Jewish and you are Christian, or
Christian. Yeah. Yeah.
Christian, and then the Catholics say the same, and the
Yes.
Muslims say the same. It's the same feeling. That's what you said, across cultures. It's
Yes.
like it's like you start being grateful for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Once you open your eyes, you say, "Thank you, God. Yeah, I'm blessed. I open my eyes. Uh,
Yes.
Everything is working for my highest good."
Mm-hmm.
It's like faith that there's a reason this is happening to me. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
uh, in my work, I can tell you that I've been in some ways that it's like it doesn't work this way. It doesn't work this way, and I keep going, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm so stubborn that I keep doing it. I will do it, and
Yes.
it's like God telling, "Don't be stubborn. Not this way. I'm telling you, not this way. Move this
Uh,
way." Right?
uh-huh.
So
Yes.
it's
Yes.
in the little things that you start seeing, um,
Mm-hmm.
and when you're working with mothers, like in the Mothers in Crisis, as you say, um, you're a multiplier, because
Mm-hmm.
women are multipliers. It's
Mm-hmm.
once they get sober, um, the kids see it, the
Mm-hmm.
friends see it, the
Yes.
sisters and brothers see it, but especially their offsprings, right? Uh,
Yes.
Later
Yes.
on. So, can you tell us some of your experiences when this way of God's way of and
Mm-hmm.
women mothers allow themselves to walk this way?
Mm-hmm.
What's the result? What's the intention? What's the changes? If something comes to mind, testimony or even yours.
Well, as you were speaking, it reminded me of a conversation that I had with someone just the other week about how the work that we did during those 18 years when we were really working with the women and the families, how it changed generations. Because it breaks that cycle of what usually begins to happen and is passed down from one generation to the other. And through this message of hope and this walk of purpose, it released the power to help the women, to help the children. And then now on the other side of it, because I'm no longer involved in that operation of direct services and what have you. And from this God's way perspective, we are impacting nations now as we are training leaders in the practice of hopeology. And we're planning this message into communities and into nations that are that are going through so much, that are really war torn and hopeless, because hope begins to be that catalyst to say that things can get better. I can be a part of helping them to get better. And then, of course, the help of whatever we can do, humanitarian wise. So it's like this, it's this whole progression now, that it started off with this seed, and from that seed it began to grow into a way of life, a way of being, a way of living, that if we can impart that into the hearts and minds of people, men and women across the globe, then they will begin to see better outcomes in their lives. They'll begin to experience things differently, that because the things may not change, but the way we experience them can be totally different. For example, I can give you an example of one of our churches in Pakistan. And as you know, Pakistan, they are under siege right now. They've just, there's literal war between Afghanistan and Pakistan, and this group that we have been working with since 2020. Wonderful people, wonderful people. They've gone through so much, and just recently they had to flee the state that they're living in because of the war and all that's going on. Well, they go into another state, and then they begin to share this message of hope with the leaders. They just had a practice, they had a hope immersion retreat workshop with the leaders in the state that they had to flee to, the practice of hopeology. And they shared the practice of hopeology. And the leaders were so impacted and moved until the guy that's one that's heading it for us, he and his whole family, said, can you speak to them? They want to speak to you now. And then they called me, and that was just yesterday. And it just really touched my heart, because I'm thinking, here are these people, they are going through at this very moment, and they're embracing and allowing this message to impact them and to help them to make it through it, with the belief that it is going to get better. You're going to make it through this. You can. And we're in this together. And that's another thing, people understanding that you're not alone in your pain and in your struggles. We're here, and we can do whatever we can do. Certainly we can pray, we can encourage, and we can send messengers of hope onto the field. And that's what I love, training and imparting and empowering these great men and women all across the globe.
It's so wonderful, because you said something that it's key on the healing, that at least in my opinion is the key. That is, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are. It depends how you see them and how you go through them. But
yes,
before you go through them, the in between, I call it, okay? I call that stage of you don't know what's happening and the circumstances are really crazy around you.
yes,
And
yes.
I call it the in between. Yes, it's how is your gaze, right? I have a friend that call it the kind gaze. Is how you connect to yourself and you take responsibility that the life you're living is the stories you're telling yourself, and what you allow yourself to believe and you allow yourself to have inside of you. Because once you can have the calm and the peace and to pause, is the time when you really can hear God's talking, because it's the whispering. It doesn't scream outside. If it's screaming, it's not God. I say it's a
Yes.
whispering. Sometimes it's a naughty whispering that it's over
Yes.
and over and over and over again, but it's telling you from inside. It's when your soul is really connected to your heart, so you can really listen what's going on with you and how can you give to the world in order to receive, because the more we give, the more we receive. right? Is
Yes.
we are
Yes.
in this together. But that connection with yourself, to be able to calm and listen beyond the noise of the
Uh-huh.
world, because the
Hmm.
world is so noisy, and
Hmm.
especially those people that are going through war, that it's each one in Pakistan, in Iran, in Israel, in
Hmm.
India, in all the
Yes.
countries. Hello, we are in the same planet, okay? We're
Yes.
in the same
Yes.
world, and hope
Hmm.
is the key. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
Hope is the key to really go through and see the light in the other side of the tunnel. That you can do
Hmm.
it. You're going through. You're just in
Hmm.
between. The bridge is moving and the bridge
Hmm.
is shaking, and sometimes it's scary. But once you're focused right in the hope,
Yes.
and the now that I'm talking, I'm seeing that the hope is the light that you see, but the face is the rail where you hold to walk on.
Hmm.
So, eh,
Yes. And faith is the substance of things that's hoped for, so it's even made up of hope. And I like to say about hope is when we talk about faith, hope, and love, that hope is in the middle, it's in the hallway, because it's future oriented, so it requires waiting. And sometimes our faith may get a little flat, but then hope is like the helium in our balloon of faith, and it kind of helps us to rise. And sometimes our love can grow cold, and we can become apathetic about different things and what's happening with people. But then hope is like that fire that can help our love to burn, and the love that's in our hearts for the world, for people all around the globe. And so that hope is so essential. It's in the hallway. So I say hope is in the hallway because it requires waiting, and hope will keep you afloat while you're waiting.
you know, uh, how do you help with your book of God's way, especially to those people that they say, no, God has been so bad to me, He abandoned me, and there is no hope. This is a terrible world. I don't know what I'm going to do. You see, the negative people that they
Yes.
are really, they have this heavy veil on
Hmm.
their eyes. So what do you do with them?
Well, I believe that as they begin to read the book, and like you said, allow themselves to receive and just be open, and they begin to see that God is a God of grace. He's a God of mercy. He's a God of love. He's a God of faith. He's a God of hope, and just really see another side, another picture of this God that I talk about in the chapters of God's way. Then I believe it's like an opening of a flower that it'll begin to bloom on the inside of them, like a seed will be planted to say, I never knew God that way. And then at the end of each chapter, their prayers, their affirmations, and then their action steps to say, okay, based upon this chapter, do these four things and every day and see what happens. And once people begin to do that, I know that God is real. Okay. He delivered me, and he has been keeping me all these years. And I believe that that real God will begin to introduce himself and his presence to the people that are opening, that are seeking, because it says if we seek him, we'll find him. So as you're seeking, and that's what happened with uh, my husband, Pastor Kwame. He was seeking. He was a Catholic, but he wanted more. He didn't really have that connection. He was seeking. He was trying all these different religions and different things. And then at one moment, he was in his living room. This was before we were married, and I mean, no, he was in his kitchen and he was having his coffee. And then all of a sudden, it's like God showed himself, manifested himself, and he found himself in tears. And he said, "Oh, it was you all the time." you know, and from that point it just continued to open him up, and that's what I believe, that people will begin to have those encounters. That I have them all the time because I love, being in the
Yeah,
presence of
because
God.
you can see, yes, but because you can see it and you're grateful and you acknowledge it and
Yes.
you receive it. There are people that are so, oh yeah, it's the universe, it's me, it's my friend that did that to me. They can
Hmm.
resist and refuse to see it. Um, it's on the until they are really bad or something great that has
Hmm.
no explanation
Hmm.
for them to open. Because if I agree with you that they have to allow, they
Hmm.
have to allow it to see it. They have to allow their lives to be a little bit open. It doesn't, they don't have to be open. There has to be just a
Hmm.
crack to let the light in, right?
Hmm.
Just a little. But if there is no crack, the crack has to come, right? Because I know people that are so mad
Yeah.
with God. It's like
Yeah.
it's their enemy, right? So it's like I call it the vacuum cleaner. Suck
Hmm.
them to the darkness
Hmm.
until they say no, 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 this is not my way. Because addiction in a way it's a vacuum cleaner that suck you in,
Hmm.
that it's very hard to come out if you're not open and you're not seeking for that exit, right? Because
Yes.
I've never, thanks God, I've never been addicted, but I
Hmm.
have seen people addicted that what they um it's more a symptom that the real problem, because the addiction is to cover the pain, the addiction is to cover
Hmm.
something deeper than
Hmm.
it is. So until this crack is not there, it's
Hmm.
it's very hard to you just pull you out of the vacuum cleaner. No, turn off the vacuum cleaner so you can release and see, there are other things, not just
Hmm.
this,
Hmm.
right?
Exactly. Yes, it's a progression, and that's why it comes back to what I really believe is that God works in mysterious ways. He is real, and we have a saying that I've heard in different from a song that we used to sing years ago in church, that if you take one step, he'll take two. so he, and that's the thing that's beautiful to me, is that I just point the way, and I pray for others, because I had a mother who prayed for me when everybody else had given up on me. God bless her soul. She's gone in heaven now, but she never stopped praying for me, and she never gave up on me. So I know the power of prayer, and I know I was wild. I talk about it in my other book, As Long as There's Breath in Your Body, There's Still Hope, where I get into some of the details of what I went through. And it looked very hopeless, very hopeless. I was in psychiatric hospitals, and just totally out of my mind. But my mama, oh, God bless her heart, she prayed for me. She loved me. And she said, my baby girl, I didn't raise you this way. I know God can help you. And he did. But it came through so many different ways. So that's what keeps me in hope, because I know that no matter how it looks and no matter how hard it may appear, that God is able. I'm a living testimony. I'm a miracle. And God has miracles all across the globe.
While you're talking, I had, I coach coaches. That's one of
Yes.
my that's one
Yes.
of my work. I and um and I help other people also. Just in I'm more a teacher than a coach.
Hmm.
It's like in 4 sessions I teach them how to manage their mind in order to allow
Hmm.
themselves to live a different life, right? Because life you can
Yes.
live it differently. But while you were talking, yesterday one of my coachees, one of a very interesting coach that has been in phototherapy and
Hmm.
called me yesterday and said, you know, I plan all my sessions and I
Hmm.
know how it's going to be with the person that
Hmm.
I'm with me. And before I was very rigid, I have to follow what I structure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But since I'm with you, I just allow this, I allow myself to
Hmm.
listen and to do whatever I feel in the moment that I have to do. So she said, I did something completely different yesterday, and I've never done it before. And I said a sentence that I said, "Oh, what you're feeling is what you're telling about the other person is not the other person's pain. Is you're
Hmm.
reflecting your pain in others. You're seeing it in others,
Mm.
but it's really your own pain." And then
Mm.
everything just like a catalyst, like she started crying and
Yes.
whatever.
Wow.
So she called me like an hour after. She said, I will relax and then call Beatriz. And she called me and she says, you know, that's God's whispering me because I've never done that before. When I
Mm.
allow myself, it's like I've been guided. So I tell them all the time that I feel I am divinely guided and protected. So it
Yes.
says it was divinely guided because it was like I was stuck with the process until I
Uh-huh.
said, okay, let me
Yes.
flow. No, let me flow.
Yes.
So it's when you see miracles. That's what I
Yes.
I I call it when you're open and you really realize that it's not you, it's not your
Hmm.
ego, right?
Hmm.
It's not,
Right.
oh, look what I, because she didn't call me to say, right? She didn't call me to say, look what I did, how
Yeah.
marvelous I was, look the
Yeah.
idea that I had. No, she came and said to me, you know, when you leave it open, you it's
Hmm.
like you allow the divine to guide you and protect you, and
Hmm.
how you can help the others. You know,
Yes.
and as I said at the beginning, once you allow yourself to see God in every single little thing, you see it,
Yes.
little
Yes.
things constantly in in a flower, in the
Hmm.
wind, in the, you know, I enter my car, I go in my car and the drive, I start driving. I said, oh, angels, please open the road for me.
Hmm.
He says, how did
Hmm.
you get here so fast? Oh, the angels always open the, yeah,
Yeah.
but you really
Yes.
need to
Yes.
ask, believe, and feel it, right? This
Yes. 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 That's his guiding force. And
that's what you
that's his
said.
way. Yes, that's his way. And when we allow him to and we welcome him into our everyday life, it's amazing the things that we'll see happening and opening up, and we'll say, wow, that was nobody but the Lord. I mean, there's no way I could have done that if I tried. And that's God's way.
Yeah. So, you know, there are so many people that are stuck, that are overwhelmed, and that they don't find their purpose in life. So, what would you say to them?
God's way of peace is one of the chapters where I look at how this peace that we have available to us is what's missing oftentimes whenever we find ourselves in a state of worry and anxiety because we're so tense and just stressed out about circumstances and whatever they may be. So God's way of peace is allowing ourselves to open ourselves up to this peace, to feel
Mm,
us and to guard our hearts and minds. So this peace. So what does this peace look like? Well, this peace is trust. Okay. One of the main ingredients of this particular peace is trust in God and trust to know that things are going to work out. And you can think about it, the things that you've gone through already and how you've made it out and how you made it to where you are. the trust that if I just allow myself to embrace this peace, God's peace, then I can see clearly now. Because in a state of worry and anxiety, you're not seeing clearly. When you're in fear, you're not thinking clearly. And it's like all of this, naturally, how we're made, our brain chemistry is all these different hormones of adrenaline and cortisol, and all of these hormones begin to flow through our bodies, and we're in this fight or flight mode, and that's all we can do. And sometimes we get immobilized. But whenever we embrace this peace, now the opposite happens. And then the natural hormones of oxytocin and dopamine and, all of these happy, feel good hormones that God has given us begins to flow through our body. Okay. And
Now,
then
how
we
can
can.
I be in peace if I have so many problems? How can I be in peace? Yeah.
Well, the focus. Okay. And this comes in. Where's your focus? Because if we're looking at the problem and all the things that's going on, you're going to stay in this state. But if you look above or look ahead, that's what I like. That's why I like hope, because you look ahead and you look above it and you could see the possibilities. Okay, this may be the reality now, but as I look beyond this, what do I see? I'm envisioning hope. I can see myself making it through this. I can see myself writing that book. I can see myself in this relationship. I can see myself, successful. I can see myself, all of this is over with. So just change your focus, take it up a little higher and look out over it through hope. And that's the envisioning process. And then keep your eyes there. Don't look back down at
It's
the problems. Just like with people that are afraid of heights, what do you tell them? Don't look down. Just keep looking up as you're going up, and that's where you're going. You are going to have to change your focus, because when you change your focus and you change your view, all of those good things that we talked about, the peace now can come, because that's reality. That is your reality, because you can create your reality.
it's you know how I call it? It's really interesting. You call it envision. You know how I call it in my book, Flip It Over? In the first
Uh-huh.
chapter, it calls let's start from the end. Starting from the end. How would you like this
Oh,
situation to be?
okay.
Start from
See,
the
I
end.
didn't know that. Tapped in there, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's the flip it over. That's the
Yeah.
idea for me. Flip it over.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, you're in fear. Let's go in love. So okay, this is what is happening now. What's your ideal situation? Let's start from the end. Let's
Yes.
say
I
you
like that.
you saw that. Let's start from the end. So how would you like this situation to be to end?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or after this situation, how do you see yourself? So
Yes.
it's like, because we have to ask the same question to get to different questions to different
Mm-hmm.
people to get to the
Mm-hmm.
same vision,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're saying, and it's so
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
go beyond. That's
Yes.
not your focus. Your focus is how this you want this situation to be.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the ideal situation if you have a magic wand in your hand and you could do
Yes.
what would it be?
What would it be? Yes. Yes.
What would it be? Yes, so really, so if you can see it, like in Epcot, if you can dream it,
Mm-hmm.
you can do it.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is like
Yes.
that. It's just if you can dream it, it
Mm-hmm.
means that you have the hope to do it. So you
That's
can do it.
right.
Everything starts with a dream. Everything starts with that. So, hello. Sometimes, where is the exit to this? Show me, right? Show me.
And then
Yes.
and then the other thing is, as we kind of mentioned before, is once you see that and you keep your focus on the end, as you say, then get busy. Get busy, because sometimes, when we're just not doing things, and when we begin to help others, and we begin to look at things that, okay, I can't solve this whole thing, but what can I do now? What can I do today? I can get up, I can, groom myself. I can, write down some things that I need to do. I can make some phone calls. I can get on the internet. What can I do now today? And then do it. And then you find yourself, when you start getting immersed in doing other things, it's going to lead you to where you know that you're going to be through your holy imagination. Then all of a sudden, that worry and that fear and all of that, the anxiety, it lessens. And then what also you'll begin to see is handfuls of purpose, where things happen, help
Exactly.
comes. All of a sudden, you have options that you didn't see before, solutions. And then it's like you embrace that and you allow that to help you through the process that you're going through. And that's God's way.
Yeah, so powerful, huh? And
Yeah.
and 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 people think that it's so complicated. It
Mhm.
sounds, it's so simple and
Yeah, it
so
is.
easy once you start trusting and you practice, because it's a practice, okay?
It is a
Because
practice.
yes, you we are wired for fear, okay? That's
Hmm.
we are wired to for fear, to be careful, to take
Hmm.
care, to protect ourselves. But it's
Hmm.
like I call it, okay, now I hear you. I'm turning off your switch and I'm turning mine on. Okay?
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
thinking. I don't want the
Yes.
fear now. So, and I do it with my hand. Hello, switch. My fear is down. Now hope and love is on. So I have my solutions. I know there is fear. Now I need to solve it. Right? So,
Hmm.
what do you hope readers will feel when they turn the final page of God's Way, of your book? Because it's really empowering.
Relief, just relief. They feel like it's going to be okay. I'm not alone. I'm okay. I'm going to make it through this. And feeling that peace, that joy, that embracing the joy, because that's God's way of joy. God laughs, and joy is so essential. Laughter is a sound of hope, and all of that. And that's what I want people to receive. And so far, that's what I've been hearing. I've been hearing people
Wow.
say, wow, I feel such a relief, because sometimes we hold ourselves so tight, so full of guilt, and so, trying to be perfect, and we want, and just judging ourselves and other people judging us and things like that. And God's way, we realize that's not God. And that's not what he desires. That's not what he
No,
has for
that's
us.
how we are being trained to feel the
Yes.
fear and keep there. But there is something very interesting after you feel relieved.
Hmm.
That it happened to me. I don't know if it happened to others. We were used to be so in chaos that when we feel the peace, is like something is missing. So we start fighting with others to find the chaos.
Yeah.
I call it sometimes. I said, um, um, my daughter, why are you so stressed? I said, I'm stressed because I'm not stressed, and because you're
Yeah,
so,
when's the shoe gonna drop? Yeah.
yeah, it's like we're used to have so many things, to be overwhelmed and to be in chaos and to be noisy, and and suddenly we have this peace and we can think and we can walk um, with confidence and
Hmm.
trusting ourselves and trusting the world. That is like, why am I not stressed if I have so many problems? I have problems of money and I have problems of this and I have problems of that.
Hmm.
How come I'm not stressed? No,
Hmm.
that's exactly that. That's why how you need to walk to solve, because everything is going to be okay and everything is happening for a reason. So my
Yes,
mantra
yes.
is, everything falls into place. Just keep
Hmm.
going and focus on your light. I it's
Yes.
It has been such a pleasure, Dr. Rosalind, to
Yes.
talk with you and really feel the hope and feel the God's way
Hmm.
and to feel that peace. And joy is the key, right? Not
Yes,
only hope,
yes.
but
Yeah,
joy
joy.
is joy is the key. Is there anything else you would like to tell our audience? Obviously, where we can find you.
Well, I would like to say, as you were talking about, okay, once after you feel that, then what? Well, God's way is a book. It's like a manual that you can pick up. You don't just read it and then you're done. So you go back and then you can, some chapters may resonate during whatever season it may be, and work those action steps and prayers and things of that nature, and it can help you to stay there. It can help you to stay there, because we all have those days. Even as a hopeologist, I have those days when the things are going through, and I have to take out the tools and intentionally do what I'm talking about. So you can purchase God's Way various ways. It's now on Audible, where I read the book. So you can get it if you're into audiobooks on audible.com. God's Way by Rosalind Tompkins. It's also on Amazon, where you can buy the paperback or Kindle. And then if you want to buy it personally from our website, and every dime goes into Mothers in Crisis, no matter where you purchase it. We're spreading hope one book at a time. It goes into Mothers in Crisis so that we can do these things that we're doing around the world. You can go to godswaybook.shop, godswaybook.shop, and purchase the book directly on the website, and then all of the proceeds will come, and every proceed will go to Mothers in Crisis so that we can spread hope around the world.
That it's so beautiful. With just talking to you, we can feel that energy and that vibe of hope and trust, and everything is okay and everything falls in place. And yeah,
Yes.
it's oh, thank you very much, Dr. Rosalind, for sharing your heart, for sharing your wisdom, your journey with us today. Because this conversation, it's a powerful reminder that allowing yourself is not just one decision, as you say. Something
Mm-hmm.
happens to us that we have to go back. It's like a daily practice of
Mm-hmm.
courage, of
Mm-hmm.
grace, of trusting God and self trust.
Mm-hmm.
And for everyone that is listening, give yourself permission to allow God's way, in your
Yes.
space, to
Yes.
rest, to begin again, and really to become what you are meant to be. So, thank you
Yes.
very much, Dr. Rosalind. What are you taking from this conversation in one word, in one phrase?
This has been opening. The interchange with you as an enlightening host and person who is really making a difference in this world, and that connection that has happened. It has been a wonderful experience. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, and see you all next time.